Okay, good morning, everybody. I had a pretty successful, probably the first very good off-stream brewing deck building session since I've been back from the trip. This is a deck that started off as a preordain, a build of Lotus Field with preordain, which was something I thought was kind of interesting. But after I kind of hammered the list out, the main deck was it was more or less, we had Lightning Bolts over Dead Gone, and then I had Preordained, I had one less land, and then 4 Preordains, no Subtleties. And I'm like, well, I think if we're just I think Dead Gone is about as good as Lightning Bolt to deck in a lot of situations, better, in not many situations worse. And I'm like, well, if we're literally just preordained away from getting Keruga as a companion, obviously your sideboard's probably a little bit worse too. But if you're just a preordains away from Keruga as a companion in this archetype, you probably just want a companion Keruga instead. That being said, despite not playing preordained in this build, there's a lot to like about. There's a lot of new additions to the Lotus Field archetype that I think are exciting here. So we have, of course, Lrien Revealed, which is a very premium card in in a ton of different decks that are trying to hit their late game land drops, not flood out, have a density of blue spells to pitch to cards like Force and Subtlety. Lrien's Revealed is extra good in a deck that's making extra mana with your Lotus Fields. We've also were playing Twiddle Storm yesterday, Vizier of Tumbling Sands, kind of a combo piece in that deck. And here I'm just kind of interested in playing it as kind of just a value card in a deck that just happens to have 4 Lotus Fields and 4 Rings. I think if your deck has 4 Lotus Fields and 4 Rings, your Viziers are pretty good cards. Obviously, and the floor of this card is cycling for 1 mana, kind of, really 2, but then you get to untap a land, and then if you get to use that mana, it's you cycled it for 1. Cast it sometimes 2, blocks Ragavan, blocks Bowmaster, just a card that, is a permanent for Keruga. I think it's all just pretty interesting. I'm a little bit worried about the lack of life gain in the deck. I will say that at least the mana base here is relatively painless. The only thing that deals you any damage is Steam Vents, and if you have Bloodsun in play, it actually deals you no damage at all. You have a lot of cheap interactions, so maybe the life loss on the ring isn't that big a problem. And the kind of idea is that when you're drawing your deck with Ring, you are going to be able to take eventually infinite turns with Nexus of Fate. I think relatively quickly, infinite turns with Nexus of Fate. I have a lot of decks prepped for, because we're playing, we're an Esper deck, and I think Swarmyard is the better utility land. Okay, 5 minutes later, my opponent is here. We have a very good opening hand. Tangled Colony is new. Okay, so I haven't seen Tangled Colony. If someone would like to link it or something, we can take a look. But this, I'm now overflowing with hope, hearing that there's another good potential rat. Could actually have held this. I think seems fine to get an island, though. One thing I like about this build, too, is that we are relatively resilient to Blood Moon with the Lrien Revealeds and being a deck with not that many blue sources or blue casting requirements. Is it ever worth it to run one of haste effect in decks like this, or is the certainty of repeated turns negate that? I don't know what one of haste effect would even possibly look like. I'm not sure what that could possibly be. I think I'm actually just gonna ice them end of turn since they're Dimir control. When maybe they'll tap a mana on their turn, I can tap them out of counterspell. Or this could happen too, where we convince them to play Orcish Bowmasters. We can resolve our Blood Sun, which will grow the Bowmaster again. But if we can resolve Blood Sun, it's going to be easily worth it. Although now we'll go for Fury. Let's pitch the Dead Gone. Is Metallic Mimic a playable rat? No. Okay, so the Tangled Colony is a 2-mana 3/2. When it dies, create X black tokens with this creature can't block, where X is the amount of damage dealt to it this turn. Don't hate it. Am I going to Subtlety their Subtlety? Let's do it. As someone who has been playing 4-color Omnath, I'm still trying to figure out why Subtlety is good in these builds, and why am I missing out? They can always recast it next turn, so 2 for 1 never seems good. I mean, it's a 2 for 1 if you spend 4 mana on it. It's always a 2 for 1 if you spend 4 mana on it. But the general idea of Subtlety is that with the ring, you are creating so much insane, like you're creating an insane amount of card advantage that offsets the downside of 2 for 1ing yourself sometimes, and when you're drawing so many cards with the ring, you really want to have 0 mana interactive spells. Okay, so they've got 2 cards in their hand. Those 2 cards are land 4-drop, which sucks, although that 4-drop seems to be the Subtlety that they put on the top of their library, which isn't particularly good against me at the moment. I'm just going to main phase this Valakut Awakening, and I'm just going to dump both of these cards, I think. My opponent is trying to Subtlety my Valakut Awakening. Or I guess they just want to resolve it, but we'll take that. So you draw 3 cards. Pretty good card. Maybe they drew a Bowmaster. Nope. Nice, comfy 13 life. I was thinking one of Hanor Battlements are like, I mean, that card is turned off by Blood Sun. I think you're a little lost to the sauce, and like I don't think that a haste effect really does almost anything that you're wanting it to do in this deck. What's my opinion on Lrien Revealed? I think it sucks. I think it's overrated in a lot of shows. I think I hate that you're playing it, Spike. I don't know. I'm sorry. I like Lrien Revealed. I think that it is a very powerful deck building tool. I think that Lrien Revealed is, yeah, I think it's a very powerful deck building tool. Let's untap the Lotus Field here. I'm supposed to pitch the Fable so I could still ice this. I guess I could just play another ring if they countered this. So again, there are 2 types of cards in Magic. There are powerful cards, and then there are versatile cards. Lrien Revealed is one of the most versatile cards I've ever seen. It is basically a tap land, but you can kind of have that land enter tapped as soon as you have any available mana. So you just get to like spend a mana that it's not even a tap land. It helps you against Blood Moon. It helps you resist Mana Flood. It gives you a high density of pitch spells for your blue cards. It lets you play. It just does a lot of things in an incredibly versatile manner. What about bad cards? I mean, typically you don't play those, but fair point. Okay, so let's loot away. I think just probably not ever casting Lrien Revealed. Famous last words, maybe. Okay, so we'll go Blood Sun. Maybe we're going to be resetting our ring this turn. Yeah, my grandfather's deck contains no pathetic cards, Yugi. And in these kind of games, we're just mostly trying to draw to our Nexus of Fate to get the game done with. Although my opponent is trying to burn me out. I think they're going to be unsuccessful. Just because we can dead gone a potential Shieldred. Why do you think the other cards in the cycle only see play and living in? Because they're creatures. they're just like, well, so that's one that's not entirely true. Like the troll does see like a little bit of play in some decks with persist and stuff, but like they're just not castable. Like one of them is like a 5-mana card draw spell, which is like relatively realistic to cast. Otawara the ring up. We could do that if we wanted to. I'm okay to just take 4, draw 5 though. But like I don't know, it's like one thing, like one being blue is kind of a huge thing too. Being blue and being like being a great pitch color is a huge part of the deal. Probably keep 2 dead guns. Put 2 back. Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna go cast Fable, and I can still hardcast Force by cycling Vizier. Just not gonna tap the ring at the moment. Every time I launch, Moto reinstalls any device to fix it. I mean, maybe try uninstalling it and clearing the program files completely, then reinstalling. Do you still believe Ring is the strongest card in Modern? I maybe did say that at one point. I don't know if I ever really believed it. I still believe that it is among the like 5 strongest cards. I believe it's in the. It's kind of weird to put Ragavan in this tier right now because Ragavan seems so bad, but I do believe it's in the tier of Ragavan, Urza Saga, Rin, and 6. I think that, and Ring. I think that these 4 cards are like the 4 cards that define the Modern format. However, it does seem like all 4 of these cards, with the exception of Rin and 6, have metagames where they're not that well positioned, have metagames where people are hating them out. With the exception of Rin and 6. Grief 2, not Grief. I didn't just forget a card on this tier list. Like, I think that there's like I don't think that Grief is a format defining card exactly. Like when I call cards like format defining, like Ragavan, Rin and 6, Urza Saga, and the Ring. These are kind of the like. These cards like kind of define like what decks can thrive and like cannot thrive to some extent. And that they're all cards that like if you're just like not prepared to beat, if you're not prepared to beat, you're just like so screwed. Is how I think about them, at least. I do want the 4th Subtlety. Maybe not articulating myself super well, but like I think that Grief is in like the 2nd like tier of cards. Like they're like it's just like the format staple tier of cards. That being said, like I do think Grief has like all the worst games in Modern involve Grief, and I think we should probably just ban it. Is Violent Owlers on that list? It's like in that next tier. It's in that next tier. I think that those 4 cards just kind of stand above the rest of the format. How close is Bowmaster? I think it's close, but there's a lot of play against Bowmaster, I think. L take from Spike. Usually when you can't like construct a good counter argument, that's what you just type L take. This card in the Great created the best counter to Ring. It's one of them. Do you have an updated Jud list you can show us later? Not today, but I have one that is actually kind of updated, yeah. I usually don't like to post list until I play him, though. Guys, run a Mold of 6 with a pretty reasonable hand. I'm putting back the Fable. How to look a classic Modern format. Wait, what does Doom call it? Pure Modern? Sideboard or main deck, or you die. The One Ring is also one of these cards that you just can't beat if you don't have like effective counters to it or are playing it yourself to some extent. It's like this is why I have them all in like this tier. But Grief, for me, Grief isn't in this tier despite it being so powerful, because it really in no way, I think, influences like the cards you put in your deck. It's just generically good against cards. You know what I mean? Probably articulated a little bit better that time. I'm gonna cycle the Vizier here. Yeah, it's also true. Yeah, Grief by itself is not that good, is another thing too. It's like, Grief is really like a combo card with Undying Malice and Ephemerate, I guess more so Undying Malice, but... I guess they didn't have a fetch land. Maybe I could have just let that go, actually. I think Fury falls on what you described too. Fury single-handedly kills elves and most of the creature decks that go wide. Okay, I hate that I have to have this conversation every day. This is just like such a common point that people say on Reddit and Twitter all the time. Fury single-handedly killed elves and most other creature decks that go wide. This is just not true. It's just not true. Elves had not been a competitive deck in Modern for like at least 2 years pre-Fury. And like maybe like almost never has Elves been a super competitive deck. I know it's like put up sub results in like 2014. It's almost never been a good deck. Humans also a deck that have like been mostly pushed out of the format, but like y'all like not like there are plenty of viable creature decks in Modern also. There's Yawgmoth, there's Hammer, there's like Merfolk is also like an incredible tribal deck. Goblins is an incredible tribal deck, like that are like much better than elves or humans. And like I know this is hard to hear. I know I like get shit every time I say this, but it really is my opinion that Fury didn't push like these creature decks out of the metagame. It's just like your favorite creature deck is not as good as the other viable ones. It's like your favorite creature decks are not as viable as the other creature decks that are viable. Like Yawgmoth and Hammer and Merfolk and Goblins. Goblins is a sick deck. I want to play Malaria combo. Yeah, I know you want to play Malaria combo. Yawgmoth exists and it's much better. You know what I mean? It's like, but I know that people on Reddit just say this over and over and over. Fury did all this stuff. It's just, but like the other truth is like even if Fury is gone, your like elves and humans is still just like not as powerful as these other decks I've listed. It's just not as powerful. So I don't know. This is my take for the most part. I'm not saying Fury is like a well-designed card. It really like it should have been like a 2/2, or it should like it should have been like a little less powerful. But this is my my take. We're sure with the 2 months. Damon Arc with the 5. Thank you. We're just gonna slam Keruga. Yeah, I guess we're Fury. Could be fine to wait a turn and try to copy it, but first I guess I'll say yeah, something. Yeah, 3/2 would have been nice too, so you could bolt it after scamming it. With the curve going crazy high, how about we welcome back Luris? Let's not ever entertain the idea of unbanning Luris, I think. Yeah, you know, I think that's a good point. All the elementals can't be Imperial Recruitered. I think that they thought Recruiter would be like a much bigger card in the format. Yeah, I'm feeling kind of bad about my decision to evoke that Fury. Seems like they have a pitch card too. They're down to 3. Okay, let's lead on the Blood Sun here. Nice to turn off like the Omnath mana forever here. And then I suppose it's correct to play this so we could cast either of our cards here. Remember, MDFCs enter untapped when you play them with Blood Sun. Would the format really be better if X1s are more viable? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. It's like, to some extent, I think there's a little bit too much hate for them, but like, it's also kind of how Magic works. Like, X1s are super easy to kill. How is Essentials the Wandering and Grinding Station? I don't really understand Grinding Station very well, or well enough to answer the question. I'll block the Omnath. They could have a third one, but I think that's still just correct to block. I think X1s should be easiest to kill, but not practically unplayable. I mean, X1s are not practically unplayable. DRC, Ragavan, and Bowmasters are all really, really good cards. Maybe Bowmaster doesn't count so much, but... okay, it's a good draw. Yeah, Esper Sentinel... Can Blood Sun be Besaged? It can be, yeah. Lotus Field can also be Besaged when you have Blood Sun in play because it removes Hexproof. What are the chances they put Brainstorm in Modern Horizons 3? It's, like, I think actual 0. I think actual 0 that they put Brainstorm into Modern Horizons 3. Like, I think if you looked at every timeline in the universe, there would be 0 timelines. I'm gonna cycle my fire here. Probably just actually fire the halfling now. Yeah, I don't think I'm evoking the Fury here. I think I will keep it. Just cycle here. Need to find our Nexus of Fate at some point. Then the older cards you want to print into Modern? Innocent Blood is a card that I think would be pretty cool. I think other than that, there's like not a lot of cards on my list. Mostly want new cards, I guess. Gale the 14th, thank you. Yeah, I'm not going to consult, have not consulted for Modern Horizons 3. I think the problem is less with Fury and more with Fire design as a philosophy. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the problem with like online Magic the Gathering discussion is like the same notes just get hit over and over and over again. One of them is Fire design. It's kind of like turn 4 format. It's something that has like completely lost meaning, I think. But it's also like almost explicitly not the way to design Magic cards anymore. Like Fire design to me is an era of like, I always forget where I think it stops. It definitely starts at War of the Spark. And like maybe ends at Modern Horizons 2, but like I think more specifically like I wouldn't consider Strixhaven to be a Fire design set. I wouldn't consider Kaldheim. The Kaldheim and Strixhaven have like a couple design mistakes, but they're definitely not Fire design. Yeah, it probably stops at Core 2021. Maybe Zendikar Rising. I can never remember what's in this. I know they have the MDFCs. Yeah, this has Omnath. Yeah, this is... I think it probably stopped at Zendikar Rising for me. I think, fire design. So fire design is also like, it's something that's just very misunderstood. It stands for fun, invitable, replaying, and exciting. That card should be fun, invitable, replayable, and exciting. Like at like a very surface level, that sounds sick. I agree with that at a very surface level. In practical applications, what that really means is that like cards are kind of pushed to their maximum in power level. Omnath, Teferi, like these are like Ren 6. They're all like so incredibly pushed and have like limited to no downside. Is like practically what it means to be a fire design card. Ring is not fire, sure. Like, I mean, shut the fuck up. Honestly, like let me like finish my point. But like, there's a big difference between fire design and design mistakes, because fire design is like when you have like every single set, there are like a dozen to 20 super incredibly pushed cards. Like, let's look at Throne of Eldraine. This is quintessential fire design set. Every card of the set is just so incredibly pushed to the max. Brazen Borrower, Oko, Questing Beast, even like Rankle in like Standard and Pioneer for a time. Like, just like the castle cycle, every single card is just so pushed to the max. The same is true in Core Set 2020, War of the Spark, Modern Horizons 1, Throne of Theros Beyond Death, Ikora, Core 2021, Zendikar Rising. This is the era just every card is so incredibly pushed. And that is just a really different thing from sets having a couple of design mistakes, like The Ring, Expressive Iteration. And in fact, like, I think you could argue Modern Horizons 2 was also a fire design core philosophy set, and they had designed it pre-shift. But like I think post Modern Horizons 2, the Ring is like literally the only card that feels like it's kind of from this era. And it's not really like from this era. They fucked up on the design, you know what I mean? It's just not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Yeah, the Dwarven's Mine, Mystic Sanctuary Cycle, like these cards are just like as incredibly pushed as you could possibly make them. And like for me, fire design is when all the sets just have a million cards that are like this pushed. It's not just like Wizards fucked up when they printed the Ring, which they did. They say EI is a design mistake. I would bring Trickery as example over EI. I just can't get. I know this is what streaming is like, but so many. Actually, I would put Tibble's Trickery as a design mistake over Iteration. Yeah, obviously Tibble's Trickery is a bigger mistake than Iteration. When I was going over the sets, Strixhaven, the only design mistake in Strixhaven is Expressive Iteration. And then I also said Call Time. I didn't go over like what the design mistakes were for that set, I guess, but like it's just I don't know. It's just there's a lot to talk about without, and like can I just please not get I can't believe every single point. Like, Expressive Iteration can be a design mistake, which it was. Banned in Legacy, banned in Pioneer. That could be a design mistake without, like, other cards not being more of a design mistake. Alright, sorry for getting so heated. But it's just like the very, like, Redditor, I'm actually, but blah. Fury pushed my pet deck out of the format, so over it. Just so over it. What makes cards like EI mistakes rather than just powerful cards miss for standard but not gauge for older formats? I guess like I just kind of have the philosophy like one thing Iteration is, it's not as an extreme example as Underworld Breach, but Iteration and Breach are both like not very good in standard and incredibly good in older formats, and I think that those are typically design mistakes. When you have a card to my understanding, Iteration was like almost unplayable in standard, or like people would put it in the deck and it wasn't that good, was my impression of the card. When you have something that is like, when you have a card that's just not impactful in standard but is incredibly impactful in older formats, I usually consider that to be a design mistake. Is 4-color so bad against creativity? No, I think the newer builds are good against creativity. That was definitely my experience in testing. How do you want to win this game? So like one thing is like these Omnath decks just don't have counter magic a lot of times, so I can still just go like ring into Nexus of Fate and win the game here. It's not super likely. I can also draw another Valakut Awakening, which I think I only have one more in the deck, but that's like immediately like 5 fresh cards, and I have 1,000 mana. So again, I know I'm not very likely to win this game, but I think I have enough percentage points to keep playing here. So mistakes are worse than fire, right? They're just, I don't know. I think no. I think that like the fire era design philosophy is was so unsustainable and toxic for the game. It was like the worst era of Magic by a lot, and like it was so bad. Like people will see any design mistake and still call it fire design. Like that era was so bad. But the reality is that like it is effectively impossible to design Magic in a way that you never make a design mistake. You know what I mean? Like design mistakes are like disappointing but expected. You have to expect the humans that designed the cards to make some mistakes. It's just unrealistic to expect otherwise. But to have like a deliberate philosophy of like just increasing the power level of Magic so much was a mistake in the first place, and it was completely unsustainable, and it's very good that they abandoned that philosophy as well. I thought fire was supposed to be for the draft uncommons and not so much powerful rares. That wasn't my understanding of it, but you know, it again, just for the most part, I really recommend just not reading so much into articles that Wizards puts out. I'll just trim a Vizier. I'm not sure what else to cut. Only one Nexus? Yeah, you only need one. The first Nexus is a 1-card infinite turn combo. Every copy after the first one just has pretty significant diminishing returns. Sandwich with 12 months, thank you. Charmaws are for Tron. Well, this seemed like maybe Tron is kind of on the downswing again. Oh, whoops. It's cool. This is not standard legal, right? This is just like the sheet stuff. I guess it's limited legal. No, we need to keep all the fire ices to kill our halflings, I think. I'm gonna get another Hellraiser creativity stream at some point. Yeah, maybe. I might play it in the challenge this weekend. The deck was pretty good, I think. Let's keep this. I think I'll just play the Steam Bids tapped. I don't think I'm cycling my Lrien Revealed, nor am I disputing anything. Is Discontinuity as a 2-minute RAM spell Time Warp not impactful enough? I think it's pretty awesome with Archetype. I mean, it's also when it works, it is like what card do you want to play it over is really the problem, and it's also on turn 3 to double ramp in Modern is really not that powerful. It's okay. I tend to think that Tail's End is a bit better. Oh, well, I guess I could have disputed this. I tend to think Tail's End is a bit better, where it's like a versatile counter. It stops Cascade, it stops Teferi, it stops Red and 6, stops Card the Great Creator, stops a lot of really, really problematic things that your opponents can have, but it does so while while not also just being kind of like a clunky 6-mana Time Warp. I think is a bit better. I think we'll probably go ahead and get a Island now. That's true. Yeah, what you do lose Keruga, so maybe that's a good enough reason to want it. Could have maybe been good to play the Lotus Field just and tap it with the Vizier this turn. Could do that next turn too. Is it better to dispute or to force? Probably just dispute. I have the subtlety for Omnath. I Tarkow's Force, but I don't know anything. Yeah, I just think the disputes can get kind of dead. And like Force is better against the ring. New adventure that copies abilities good in Glimpse. I don't think I've seen that one. I do appreciate you describing the card instead of saying the name though. But I haven't seen that one. That was a lot of work for an untapped land drop. Was it? I don't know. Felt kind of fine to me. Venture is 1 blue, copies an activated or triggered ability you control, and it's enchantment that's a Panharmonicon. I don't know, I guess I should probably have led with this. Like, there is no such thing as a good card in Glimpse. There's no such thing as a card that's like exciting for Glimpse combo, or like is gonna really like there's nothing that's gonna be like a permanent that you put in play, and this is gonna finally be what Glimpse needs to be the best deck in Modern. It's like Glimpse, like the thing that Glimpse would maybe need is something like a new Colony Garden, or the new like Evoke card that makes 2 treasures. Something that like meets your Cascade requirements and puts tokens into play fast. Like, your Glimpses are good when you hit lots of big permanents and your thing resolves, and it's bad otherwise. And like there's really like, it's really just like not that complicated overall besides that, I think. I will play this. I can go Keruga plus Awakening next turn. It copies Cascade and fetches. Can they copy your opponents? Okay, you can't. So I mean, it doesn't cascade on turn. Well, I was thinking they would play the Teferi. I guess I should have awakened in response, probably. I'll probably just put this away since I think they're going to get to resolve the Teferi. Now let's slam the ring. How do you evaluate which deck should be playing the land cyclers? It's kind of a complicated question. So like one thing is like Lrien Revealed is like it's very different from the other land cyclers. It's like a card that's like it just does so much. Like it's the best pitch color. It's actually castable, or like a good card to cast in the late game. And it being blue, like blue decks can more easily afford to play an effect like this too. So they're not casting the Teferi still. Like a slow cycle effect. So it's just kind of a lot of things that make Lrien Revealed better than the other ones, but the card is mostly just a good card too. Don't really need to overthink it too much. Yeah, so I think I'll probably just kill the Omnath and play into Subtlety that's a fairy, or maybe they'll play like another Omnath. I think they shuffled tough. Yeah, maybe I missed it. They definitely put it on top. Not attack with Omnath. I have protection from everything, so attack with Omnath doesn't do anything. I think you just let this go. My Baldur Gamer. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate. I I haven't been streaming it, just playing it off stream. I'm almost level 5 now. Almost level 5. I did the goblin camp yesterday. I think I messed it all up though, but whatever. Can we talk about using dispute instead of hardcast force on the ring a few turns ago? Yeah, it's just like dispute is like immediately dead, you know, or like dead so fast. Like it's like I know I drew another one, but like force is a card that scales better into the late game, so it's the card I want to keep a bit more. Never streamed Baldur's Gate. I would have streamed it if I was in town when it came out, but I'm just kind of been happy to really just play it off stream and not have to turn it into content. Okay, so I'm definitely going to go Blood Sun, second Lotus Field, so I should do that now. Oh, wait, but now it turns off my Minamo. Maybe that's okay, though. Maybe that's fine. I have 8 mana. Yeah, the Omnath doesn't do as much with the Bloodstone in play. I think I'm just going to go Fable, Ice their Omnath. And then keep the Subtlety up too. The Knack with the 5-pack. Thank you. It's very nice of you. Gotta get this up from Danak. Make sure to thank him. Okay, put it back on top, of course. Maybe it's better to kill the Solitude there. I take 1 less damage. Or 1 more damage, but then I just have the thing off the field. So we're down to 13. I mean, every damage really does matter a lot here, to be fair. So let's go loot. Draw 5. Never untap the ring here. So I know they're drawing Teferi, so I have to kill the halfling if I want to force it. How much mana do I have? I have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 mana. I guess 1 more if I untap the... Yeah, we have enough mana to hardcast 2 Furies and untap the ring. If I could just find another ring off like the next 6 cards, which I'm incredibly likely to, I think. Yeah. It's pretty ideal. And then I just need to Fury, I guess Halfling plus Solitude. I could force their next card. Casual, 15 cards in hand. Didn't draw another Lotus Field. Yeah, Lotus Field is a pretty broken card. I definitely like to play with it a lot, but it's also a card that I think is generally has like a lot of room for exploration. Solitude. Oh, sorry, I meant to kill the Solitude. I totally thought I had. I don't know what happened. That being said, we could also like never lose this game, so that's kind of a nice aspect here. Never possibly being able to lose. In fact, we can guarantee that we find our Nexus of Fate to... Yeah, we just go... I guess we have to tap the ring first. Did I draw this or did I just like get it revealed? So I have 9 cards in my library. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Means that I'll draw my Nexus. And the game is over. Don't really have to play this extra ring. I think it's probably just fine sequencing to do so. You could have just killed their entire board as I try to preserve my life total or something. I mean, their board did not do anything at all. I know they're drawing a Teferi next turn. I have protection from everything. Why do I need to kill their board? Oh, I meant to fire. I did not mean to ice. Sorry. Okay, maybe we'll draw the Nexus. I guess I'm kind of like... I can beat a Supreme Verdict off the top, but I probably could have put myself in a little bit of a better position. Yeah, this alternate just has protection for me somehow. Okay, go into game 3. Because it's garbage time, it kills them faster as real answer. I don't know, it's okay. It's not something that needs to be nitpicked, I think. Yeah. We'll keep, I think. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be able to fire a halfling next turn in case they like couldn't play it off anything besides this. Wow, it happened. Do I do it upkeep? Yeah, they could have Spell Pierce pretty realistically. Fire, not ice. Kind of obviously called to Teferi, but we can't dispute it with the halfling. Man, played around the Spell Pierce, played around the halfling. Maybe lose anyways, but it feels kind of nice. Any consideration for Wish so they can't cranial the Nexus? Why would you, like, to make your Nexus a 10 mana spell instead of a 7 mana spell just because you're scared of, like, Necromancer or whatever is so funny to me. Modern Magic players are so scared of Necromancer. Like, it must be just, like, such a popular effect at FNM or something. You just don't need to live in fear of that card. If we draw a Lotus Field, we can go Blood Sun, Lotus Field, cycle Vizier, play Ring. Do you think Leyline of the Void is better than Leyline of Sanctity against Scam? I think it's close. I think that I would probably say Leyline of Sanctity is a little bit better. But what's nice about having Leyline of the Void is it's a combination, you know, Living End and Scam Sideboard card instead of just being a Scam Sideboard card. I wonder if it's ever... No, I don't think it's ever right to just fire. That's a fairy there. My defense, it is a really popular effect at FNM. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is, like, just everywhere at FNM. I built Lotus without flagstones. I miss it a little bit, but the mana is just like so clean without it, and the kind of the initial idea was that Preordain would help with some of the consistency, but no more Preordain. Another halfling. Halfling's so good against us. Wow, what an incredible draw. I could go for an extra turn here. Probably better to just play the ring. And then I guess I can either fire the halfling or I can cycle the Vizier. Probably just want to cycle the Vizier. Usually you want to fire, but you have 2 dispute in hand, hard enough to stop a fire. Yeah, we're just so behind if we fire though. Like they have the ring. So we only get to draw 1 card off the ring. Thinking about one deck with Mom's Drifter. I don't know what that is. Mom's Drifter. People will type the wildest stuff in this chat and expect me to, like, know what that card is. The people who type the most random stuff in this chat expect me to be able to, like, figure out what the hell that means. Oh, yeah, I did get an extra card from the activation. Right. Cool. That was a cool play. I didn't realize. Okay. I think I just start off with a Nexus here. Vermis with the 5 months, they can use well. Great draw. So I think I killed Teferi and then fire the halfling. Fire the halfling. Take 6. Obviously getting buried by the ring here though. Reverse the 5 months, thank you. See, not dead after all. Oh, yeah, I saw this. I don't know. It's like it'll see like, you know, an insane amount of play in Modern, but it's also not a very exciting card. Just like a slightly better Feign Death. Oh, can't force that. I will say it is like incredibly annoying that they would just buff the scam archetype like that. Undeniably annoying. All right, so we'll just draw a ring. Oh no, they realize they can Visage you by they can Visage you by Lotus Field. At least they didn't pick up the Visage you with the red this turn, but it's probably not the biggest problem. Probably dead. Scam wasn't a problem 1.5 years ago they designed the card. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure like how long ahead of time they designed sets. Like I know the Lord of the Rings one was like 2 years before release, but I think that one specifically was like I also think that they said that when they designed battles, like they had already designed the Lord of the Rings set, right? But the battle set came out before the Lord of the Rings set. So I feel like with these like special sets, they come out, they're designed like pretty ahead of time. They can still put it out of the set last minute. Yeah, I also wonder about that too. Like when I saw the ring, it was nothing like this. Like I wonder like how different, like at what point did the ring get changed? And I wonder like, I wonder like how soon before, like at what point is everything final too? It's all kind of interesting. What was Modern's biggest problem 2 years ago when Image 3 was designed? Yeah, like I mean, it surely wasn't a full 2 years ago. It's probably 2 years from like next summer, right? If Lord of the Rings was 2 years before the release. Oh, then maybe it was more like a year and a half than 2 years. You see Orcish before? The thing is, like, I can't really remember. I can't really remember, like, if I saw Bowmaster and if it was the same. I think even if I saw it in its exact form, I don't think that I would have realized how good it was, and I think that's obvious because I also like didn't realize how good it was. Wow. Okay, we're kind of doing it. No, we're like actually doing it. What the fuck? I guess I get to draw 6 cards. Three months before release? Like to me, 3 months before release sounds... Oh, was I not supposed to play that? To me, 3 months before release sounds like way too much time. Or like not like I would think that it would be a significantly bigger gap. Yeah, I guess I don't want to play a Lotus Field, so just play this. Creativity, Omnath, and Scam were kings back then. I'm a bit confused. When is back then? Yeah, I would think like 6 months. 6 months sounds like way more realistic. I would even think like the ability. I would guess that the ability to change cards at the last second is very difficult, and it probably has to go through a lot of people. Yeah, cool match for sure. You think fairies can make a comeback? I mean, a fairy comeback would imply the existence of fairies ever being good. You know what I mean? Which I don't know that I believe fairies has ever been a deck that's been able to compete in Modern. Doesn't really seem like Subtlety this accomplishes anything. You just tap the ring. The ring was a totally other card. Yeah, when I saw it, the ring, it was like 5 mana. It was also an indestructible artifact. I believe it was 5 mana. And I can't remember what it did. I can't say what it did, even if I did remember. But like the rest of the text was completely different. I don't think that there was any similarity in the text beyond indestructible. And I don't know when in the process it was changed, but I did give the feedback that it was like I remember it was really bad. I gave the feedback that I wish it was better. I wish that it was like an impactful card in some way. How many cards did they draw off the ring? 7 + 6 + 5 + 4 + 3 + 2 + 1. Did I consult on the ring Timps U mechanic? I did, yeah. I gave the feedback that I didn't like the ring Timps U mechanic very much. I actually like it more after playing with it, but I in general think that like my personal philosophy is you should be able to read a card and fully understand it without having to pick up a separate card and read it. Morality with the 20 months, thank you. I mean, if we can just find our Nexus, we're actually like, doing good, I think. So I need to find untapped lands, which I don't think I have that many left in my deck. Plus the Nexus, but I get like 6 looks. It's a lot of cards. I think I have one more ring in my deck too. Yeah, now I don't have enough mana, so I have to find the ring. They have 10 cards in their library, wow. So I am 2 mana short of bouncing my ring and replaying it with Otawara. I can untap my ring and draw 3 cards, but there's not enough Furies. I think we are dead. The complexity creep that we have. Although sometimes it's a bit much. How do you feel about the rolls? I haven't really formed an opinion on the rolls yet. I think they're a bit odd. They're probably gonna be very interesting for limited and like a bit more like good to be keyworded for limited. Come against Gigantha. Let's probably put back Fury against Gigantha. Use an article time. I'm sure that's helpful for people in chat. Probably don't want to read an article on stream, but thank you, Nevermore. Well, we can fire that next turn. It's kind of funny making better Feign Death. Yeah, it's like pretty annoying that they're making a slightly better Feign Death. It is like the most marginal buff I've ever seen, though. As long as there's no more stuff like Day to Night. Yeah, Day to Night was like... I feel like it was just worded really poorly. Maybe it's just like my brain, but like my brain like couldn't read the card, like read the Day to Night mechanic. Oh, I put Fury back. I guess it would have been Thoughtseized. Like this card is not much better Feign Death, but when you die to the extra damage from this card, it's gonna be incredibly annoying when you like would have beaten Feign Death, but you lose to this new card that just deals you 1 damage. Yeah, it's true. Like having to remember it every upkeep is obnoxious too. Is the mana value of rolls 0? Or, yeah, are rolls considered cards? I'm not sure. Bitter Chill. 2 mana enchant creature. ETB tap creature. Doesn't untap. Put into a graveyard from that field. You may pay 1. If you do, scry 1, draw a card. This is like... I feel like I've... Let's go, dude. I feel like this is the best Fury I've ever seen. But also this is the best... This is like the best version of this effect I've ever seen by like a pretty significant amount. Maybe not. Maybe it just says draw a card. I'm really happy about it. Rolls are enchantment tokens. That's interesting. Well, punished for playing this tapped. Okay, I guess. Yeah, like this is like a 3 mana effect usually. or like historically, but it's just the same effect for 2 mana with like a pretty significant upside too. Although I bet you missed that trigger a bunch in limited. Spiritual seems pushed. Yeah, I have a hard time imagining it would be like a constructed card, but it's a cool card. Seen Agatha's Soul Cauldron? Yeah, I've seen Agatha's Soul Cauldron. I know there's like a lot of buzz around that card, and I'd love to be buzzing with y'all, but I'm not really particularly hyped about it, I guess. Agatha's Soul Cauldron plus Chris. Yeah, like, again, this is the same, like, dialogue tree we had yesterday, where people point out, like, these really powerful situations that you can have with the card. But the problem is these kind of effects that, like, you need to resolve this card. You need to have a powerful, like, having a powerful creature in your graveyard in Modern is just not a very easy thing to do. It's like this is, like, Faithless Looting is just not in the format. And it's like, and it's either going to be like only good in the late game, which is like not the kind of card you want to put in your deck, something that's only good in the late game, or it's going to be something that like you have to build very hard around, and it doesn't seem like a good enough payoff to build really hard around. So like, what are we doing with this card? You know what I mean? But it will have some really like sweet moments. And it is like like with Yawgmoth, it's also like very powerful too. I probably just would have drawn a card here instead of put Gigant in my hand. I think I'll just Blood Sun. About Citrus Supplier having Gristlebrand ability? I mean, that sounds good. I'd be on board for that. But yeah, it could be better. This is just my initial impression too. Like I'll try to build around the card. I'll see what we can do. It could be better than I think, but for the most part, like I'm just not that excited about these kind of like Christmas landy scenarios. We're just gonna let Ragavan hit us, yeah. I think so. Yeah, Death Touch for players. The blue-red creature land. I've only seen the green-black creature land. I would love to see the other ones. My current conclusion is you don't build around. You stick it in an existing creature combo shell and it beats removal. See, the problem with this attitude is that it's only good against decks with removal. Like, it is going to be, like, effectively a dead card against, like, decks like Tron, Living In, like, any linear deck. It's mostly just dead. So, like, is it a sideboard card? If so, it's probably an unexciting sideboard card. But does it beat removal decks? Because, like, it's, by itself, it does nothing. You have to have creatures in play for it to do anything, right? So, you know, like, what removal decks are good against when you spend 2 mana to do something to play like a non-creature spell that doesn't do anything with our creatures. They just kill all your other creatures, and they're like really happy you cast this card. Is very often my experience, you know. Guess I should have played my Lotus Field first. I'm gonna cast the Subtlety though. If their one unknown card is Drown, we get kind of got. Maybe you do board it, but historically decks have bad cards against other decks game 1. It doesn't make the card not powerful enough. I think it's like a fine point, but there's a difference between having like a card that's bad in a particular matchup and a card that's bad against like 50 to 60% of the field. You know, or like, you know, yeah, around, I'd say like probably Modern is like 50-50 like linear decks to fair decks. Maybe that number's a little off. But there's a big difference between like having, oh, this is bad against Tron, or this is bad against like this one specific thing, versus like this is like almost completely a dead card against half the decks of the format. It would only be almost a dead card, assuming again that you're building under the philosophy that you're building with the idea that this is going to be a card that just is good against removal. Like you're not going to play any way to enable it in your deck otherwise. You're just going to wait for your creatures to die. It's probably less than 50 actually. Soul Cauldron can make everything a Ravager and Hardened Scales. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, you don't play that many creatures in Scales. It's like, you play 20, right? You play Zabaz, Ravager, Ballista, Hangerwork, Patchwork. You play up to 20 creatures usually. Sometimes you can play more, but then it's like you're fitting more creatures and you're also fitting this card in. How does that work? Ooh, triple Volcanic Island. It's like you don't have so many creatures that like, oh, my Ravager's dead, but good thing I have 3 creatures in play still to turn them all into Ravagers. I don't know. It's okay. This is just my evaluation. At the moment, I'm not super hyped about it. I will try to deck build with it. I will try it. I will work on it. Yeah, Devoted Druid is probably a great... Devoted Druid actually seems sick with this card. Because I really like that Devoted Druid can just, it dies so quickly, so often, and can even kill itself if you needed to play around exile-based removal. Love when I'm on the draw against Grixis Shadow and they just don't have a creature. Oh, they have a creature. It's not very likely this game, but if you can Blood Sun before your Shadow opponent gets under 13, it's really good. Their Shadows just never can be cast. I guess they can have Thoughtseize, but it's tough. Thing that has me excited about Cauldron Scales is the fact you can put a Ballista in the yard for free. Yeah, it's a lot of resources though. It's okay. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. It could be good. Oh yeah, they Bowmastered themselves. That is actually pretty sick. Soul Cauldron lets you go infinite if you exile a Grist and have some creatures enter with counters effect. Wait, hold on. Does it not just go infinite by itself? Or no? I can't remember how it works. Maybe it doesn't. I need to reread the card. You have to tap it, right, to give the thing the ability. Okay, I'll get the Soul Cauldron. Creatures with counters. Okay, so you have to get a counter on the... Somehow, like, have a thing that puts a counter on the token. That's kind of fun, though. Very cool card. Definitely one that provokes the mind. Took Fable. If I Blood Sun, they get to ping me. If I draw a red card, I can still Fury. And obviously, like, turning off their fetch lands is really nice with this matchup. Hard cap the Shadow a little bit. This enters untap painlessly. Some things to like. Did I get a spoiler card? I have not gotten a spoiler card. I can't. The last spoiler card I got was Double Masters. Was that 2 years ago? Was that 1 year ago? I can't remember. But I seem to be off the spoiler card list. I was so enthusiastic. Esther made PowerPoint. I thought that we did a great job. Lion Sash was before Double Master. The only spoiler cards I've had were Lion Sash and then Glimpse the Unthinkable and the Ripple Portal card. Doom with the 38 months. Thank you. Get Spike a spoiler card? Yeah, it's okay. I'll be alright. Only can Lrien Revealed cycle for Lotus Field. 3 mana Thoughtseize. Deal. Gonna make a Jund land with the new turtle and Lavaclaw reaches. I don't know about Lavaclaw reaches, but the new turtle is actually pretty sick. I unironically like that card. Maybe we should have boarded my Nexus out, huh? Almost like just casting Vizier. Let's hold up the Subtlety. Lavaclaw lets you get to infinite power for just red black with a turtle. Does it? Oh, it does, huh? This actually sounds pretty sick. That sounds pretty sick. The turtle's not bad either. The turtle is kind of like pretty good value. Yeah, I think we'll just cast a Fury next turn. There's not a ton they could do about it. Any merit to playing Hidden Strings as a fair card? So we played the Twiddlestorm deck. Strings is kind of crazy there. That's kind of the idea behind the Viziers. I think they're like a much better fair card because they always cycle and they have like the other mode of being cast as a creature. Okay, not the most surprising dress down. If they kill this Fury somehow right now, which I guess they can only do with like Murderous Cut or Dismember, I could Subtlety right now. Actually, let's just Subtlety right now. Oh yeah, also Keruga. We have not Keruga'd very much so far today. Keruga not being templated like Lurrus is so frustrating. Maybe. The problem is like it is good that it isn't. It would be too good if it was templated like Lurrus. Was Exile of Vizier not better there? I don't think so. I think I'd rather have the card I can cast than the card that I can't. I think this is the line. Attack. Play a Vizier. Can beat a Drown. Can't beat a Bolts. Yeah, I'd be like, it is for the best that it's not simply like Lurrus. It may be banned even. They had a Bolts. Okay, well, game 3. Almost wonder if it's worth playing 2 Endows for the same reason as Force. Well, the thing is, like, you're pretty happy to pitch cast Force. I guess we haven't talked about this very much. We're playing a Force because you could just kind of, like, put Keruga in your hand, pitch it. So the first copy is usually pretty good. You can also cast it off field. Limited Endurance is, like, you just don't want to pitch cast it that often. Or as often. They can't pay for the Dispute, though. I couldn't cast the Dispute. I only had 2 mana. Yeah, I've heard several stories of Rhino players, or like people that go into like tournaments and people are playing Rhinos and they have Keruga as a companion and paper. Which is only a legal play on paper. Kind of a flashy hand. His hand's incredibly weak to a Thoughtseize, but hard matchup to mulligan in, and if they just don't Thoughtseize my Lrien Revealed, we're kind of fine. Yeah, I guess we have a few different options here. We can dispute a Spell Pierce. I guess we can dispute a Flusterstorm. So if they just go to combat, I don't mind just deading. Could also cycle Lrien Revealed in response to a Thoughtseize, so I don't need to be so worried about that. They could have gone Channeler Thoughtseize pre-combat. I could have gone Fire, although I guess that's like a little bit unlikely. I see the new Black Mythic Adventure -3/-3 gain 2 life. I need to know mana cost. I haven't seen it. I need to know mana cost though on these kind of cards, or a link to the card. You have a Lord of the Rings Pioneer tournament coming up. What is that? Like it's Pioneer plus Lord of the Ring cards? Is that hype? Is that amazing? I don't know. I probably should have deaded the water or iced the water grave, huh? Damn it. Or like just dead it first. I don't actually know why I did it that way. Enchanted by Pioneer Lord of the Rings tournament. Unsanctioned event with Lord of the Rings cards, no ring, no bowmaster. Yeah, okay. No ring, no bowmaster makes me happier about it. Min with the 20 months, thank you. What are we doing there? Yeah, I think we messed that turn up. It's okay. I was just, again, how could I focus on a turn thinking about Lord of the Rings Pioneer? Samwise combo? Oh yeah, that seems pretty good. That seems really good. We broke it, huh? We broke it. Anything else that's busted? Lrien Revealed, blue-white control. Have to play Woe Strider? Yeah, you can play Cartel Aristocrat too, if you want a 2-mana one. Now they have Drown. They do have to sack the treasure to counter my Fable. I mean, okay, so Sam combo is like obviously the best deck, but I don't know. Maybe you could just like play something fun too, something that like how often do you get to play a Lord of the Rings Pioneer tournament? Maybe your LGS is awesome, you do it all the time, but I don't know. What if you? Surely you can build something sick, something unique. I would try to build something like memorable rather than obvious best deck. Maybe. I remember, like, after RTR Innistrad rotated, the LGS I went to did a couple... Oh, Return Ragavan, killed Token. Okay. They did a couple of events where Theros was just added to RTR Innistrad Standard instead of Innistrad rotating out, and it was very fun. It was very, very fun. Classic Channeler too big for Fire Ice. No, Bowmasters and Ring are both banned from this mystery tournament. Okay, I guess we go for Cast Subtlety on Ragavan, trying to block Channeler. Pretty sure Shadow decks are cutting Drown nowadays. Oh, I guess that's... I didn't realize that's what Jarvis was doing. I was kind of wondering how Jarvis made room for the preordains. Although we haven't seen Dreadhorde Arcanist either. I guess maybe... the only list I've really seen is Jarvis's, but I don't know if other people are doing a bunch of different stuff. Put the Ragavan on the bottom. And they say Subtlety's never a 2-for-1. How'd the Tempt Dreadhorde deck go? We went 2-3. We had some really sick turns. In general, it feels like there's something there, but having a hard time figuring it out. It's very common on this channel. I think we'll just ice this turn. Yeah, Arcanist, Birthday Escape, and Pioneer sounds actually really sick. It also kind of feels like... sometimes it kind of feels like Preordain is a Lord of the Rings card. You know what I mean? Okay, so I guess I'll have them take the Fury instead of icing first. Puts Death Shadow in the graveyard. Escape isn't legal. Yeah, we're talking about a theoretical Pioneer Lord of the Rings tournament. With Bowmaster and Ring Band. Not doing great here. Not doing great. Yeah, so it's kind of fun. I don't know. I really feel like Pioneer's such a weird spot. Oh, I get to see so many cards here. Pioneer's in such a weird spot. Like, to some extent, it really feels like the format needs a shakeup. The problem is, like, I don't think that you could get, like, above 30% of the Pioneer player base agreeing on what that shakeup should be. You know what I mean? Like, I think it would be very difficult to get the player base kind of, like, on the same page about what the shakeup could be. But I think you could get above 50% voting that there should be a shakeup. It just kind of makes it weird, right? Yeah, I'm playing around removal on the 2/2 by doing it in my end step. I just kind of I go to 1 and the game's almost over. Wow, they saw up to 5 cards on that preordained. Did they bottom? 1 top, 1 bottom. Interesting. Mono green is just unfun, not broken. Yeah, I think that's most players' opinion on Pioneer is that it is not broken but unfun. That's at least the sentiment I feel like I hear echoed all the time, and I agree. Is it not broken but not trend true for most formats? I think modering's pretty fun. I don't know. It's very opinion based though. Oh, sorry, we are dead aboard. Oops. I don't know why I thought I was going to 1 here. So I guess I needed to Blood Sun. I don't know. We're super dead. Yeah, I don't know. I thought I was going to 1. Definitely made a lot of mistakes that game. One big mistake at the end, I guess. Okay, let's pivot decks.